everybody hear me in the back?
Yeah!
Hell yeah! How's everybody doing? Everybody feeling the burn? All right, my name's Elan Axelbank. As Toya said, I'm a college student at Northeastern University. I'm also here to represent Movement for Bernie, a national grassroots independent wing of the Sanders campaign that thinks we gotta create a grassroots movement in the street like what we're doing today in order to win this political revolution. I support Sanders for a lot of reasons. One of them is particularly because I'm a student. The United States is one of the richest countries in the history of the world. Yet students have to take on crippling debt in order to get a college education. Boo is right. The average college graduate of the class of 2015 graduated with $35,000 in debt. More than 40 million Americans share a total of $1.2 trillion in debt, and 58% of that is held by the poorest 25% of Americans. This is boo. There's a lot to boo about today. This is clearly an urgent crisis, but establishment politicians from both parties are failing to take action. In 2013, Congress passed legislation that doubled the interest rates for federal student loans. Students are facing rising tuition costs, mounting debt, and a lack of good-paying jobs when we graduate. Sanders calls for tuition-free public college at every single 2- and 4-year public college and university, and that's what we need. In an economy where Black and Hispanic people are in poverty at way disproportionately high rates compared to white Americans, this is also an extremely important part of the struggle against institutional and systemic racism in this country. 63% of white students who graduate from public institutions have debt, and an astonishing 81% of Black students who graduate college have debt. That is crazy. Sanders' plan would require public colleges and universities to meet 100% of the financial needs of the lowest income students. And how should we pay for this? A lot of people are asking. It's not that difficult. All we would need to do is impose a tax of a fraction of 1% on Wall Street speculation. People say, why should we go after Wall Street? Why should they have to pay? You know, why do you get to freeload off of what Wall Street does? Well, let me tell you something. The 20 wealthiest people in America today own as much wealth as the poorest 152 million. That is insane. I'll put that in another perspective. We talk about the 1%. We talk about the wealthiest 5%. We talk about the wealthiest 0.1%. And we even talk about the wealthiest 0.01%. But I have to say, it is so much worse than that. 0.0000063% of America owns as much wealth as 50% of America. And I'm going to say it again. 0.00063% of America owns as much wealth as 50% of America. I'll say it again. I'm just kidding. That is absolute insanity. It's utter insanity. And along with many other aspects of our society today, the system of higher education is totally and completely broken, but the solution is really not that difficult. And the important thing about Bernie Sanders is that he's not unrealistic. He doesn't promise that he can just fix these problems by himself. And we can't let ourselves fall into that illusion either. He knows, just like we all know way too well, that Congress is broken and it is gridlocked. The overwhelming majority of our Congresspeople take corporate funding and are beholden to corporate interests. And as Sanders is teaching us, we have got to learn to not rely on them. Student debt is one of the most important particular issues to me as a student, but as a Sanders supporter, far and away the most important aspect of Sanders' campaign is that it isn't just about Sanders, and he says it himself. Last fall, he said even the best president in the world cannot defeat the billionaire class. We need a mass movement of millions of people. And we've got to stay true to that. Throughout history, change has never started in the Oval Office or the chambers of Congress. Change starts in the streets when the people demand it. Like movements get active. Change starts when workers go on strike. Change will happen when the 99%, when we have our own political voice, a political party that is of, by, and for the 99% and not for big banks and corporations. How many people know about what happened in December with the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, trying to take away Sanders' access to the database of Democratic Party voter registration? A lot of people know about it. And everybody here is, of course, aware that the corporate-controlled media, the mainstream media, has been doing everything in their power to not cover Sanders. They don't want his word getting out. People know about that, right? Yeah. And everybody is aware of how Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the head, boo, is right. The head of the Democratic National Committee, which is the leadership body of the Democratic Party, is trying to sabotage the Sanders campaign. Yeah. It's becoming clearer and clearer that the DNC, the establishment of the Democratic Party, has an organized movement against us, against our political revolution. So what does that mean? That means we have to have an organized movement against them. Yeah! And that's what Movement for Bernie is. We're not going to stop after this campaign, win or lose. We're going to keep fighting for Sanders' radical platform across the country. We're going to fight against the rule of the billionaire class, and we're going to fight for a new political party of, by, and for the 99%. Next Saturday, a week from today, Movement for Bernie will be having our next meeting at Northeastern University in the Student Center. There are people walking around with flyers advertising this meeting, so please find us, join us, come to the meeting. If you have Movement for Bernie flyers, raise your hand. Look around you, a lot of people with flyers. Join Movement for Bernie in building a grassroots movement for Bernie Sanders and for a political revolution against the billionaire class.
Give another hand for Elan!
Makes no sense at all.
Well, it's all scare tactics.
Bernie stands with the 99%. All Hillary does is